Have you witnessed a terrible marriage proposal? My dad stuck the ring in a stick of deodorant, then told my mom she needed to use it. Small argument ensues when mom tells dad she does not need it : How Redditors are made. I proposed to my wife in Times Square at New Year's Eve. I was going for maximum cheesy. She was pretty emotional and took a while to believe I was serious, even though I had a ring. This being New York, strangers started shouting at her to hurry up, lady. What's IT gonna be? We don't have all night. Hey, frick you. I'll marry him if you don't hurry up. I had been dating this girl for about a month or two while we were in college, and we lived close enough in the summer to see each other frequently. So I was over her house and we were getting stuff ready to grill out when a car pulled up. We assumed it was some of her friends, who we had invited, just arriving a little bit early. She peeked out the window and gasped, "Oh crap, it's Matt." Matt was an ex-boyfriend from high school. They broke up senior year, but he had been pursuing her since then despite constant outright rejections. "Do you want me to take care of this?" I asked. "No, I'll deal with it. He'll just try to start a fight with you." So I sat by the window and watched the whole thing. It was short. He said that he wanted to talk. She said she really didn't want to talk. She was having people over, and besides, they had talked everything out a while ago and everything was settled. There was nothing more to talk about. He was a crappy boyfriend. It was 3 years ago. She moved on. He needed to do so as well. That's when he doubled down. I know the reason we've been apart. We were in high school. We were kids. We weren't adults. So you can't ever see me as an adult. Not until I man up. You need to know that I'm serious about this. That's why I have this. He got down on one knee and pulled a ring box out his shirt pocket, just like a jewelry commercial. He opened the box and said, "Beth, will you marry me?" She tried really hard not to burst out laughing, but only halfway succeeded. "Oh my god, no, go away. There are people coming over. Matty, don't embarrass yourself any more than you already have. Seriously, just go." He had this quizzical look on his face, like shock and disbelief. He really thought this was the right play. After a few seconds, he got up, put the box back in his pocket, and walked back to his car without saying another word. She came back inside. "I can't believe that just happened," she said in a mixture of amusement and anger. I was mostly on the side of amusement, so I asked if the ring was nice. It wasn't even a ring. It was a tiny note that said "any ring you want." That note definitely showed that he was an adult. I proposed to my wife in Dublin, which is more difficult than it sounds because it's not a romantic city. After dinner, I decided that the Halfpenny Bridge was about the best place to get the job done. Right in the middle of my proposal, I hear the unmistakable sound of a drunk guy pee off the bridge not 10 feet behind me. Ireland has never let me down. I unfortunately didn't witness it, but my best friend just got engaged, and when her so proposed they were in a little French deli. She had just put a massive mouthful of pie in her face when she saw he had got down on one knee. She was so shocked she spat the pie out all over herself, all over him, all over everything. She just sort of nodded. It was very like her to do something like that, so it's all fine, but still, I don't think he was expecting pie in his face. At least not until later that night. My favorite had to be while I was in Vegas at the Bellagio Botanical Gardens. Everyone is doing their thing, snapping pictures, oohing and awing, when this one guy gets down on a knee and gives this little speech. Minute, people stop what they are doing to watch, encircling the two while he finishes his speech. The girl, with hands covering her mouth, begins to cry. Some of the crowd's heart melts at the end of the speech, but there has yet to be a reply. The girl continues to stand there, and at this point it begins to get awkward. There are some gasps and giggles from the crowd. You can see the dude's mind racing, and he begins to look at the floor, realizing what he has done was probably a huge mistake. The masses begin to feel horrible for the poor guy, but the chick, probably realizing what was going on all around her, shakes her head, but the words that come out of her mouth were, "Alright, yes." The guy stands up and begins to wobble. Probably some blood flow issues from the 5+ minutes of awkward kneeling, and he grabs a hold, falls onto, awkwardly hugs the girl. TLDR. Dude proposes. Girl takes an awkwardly long time to respond. Responds with a head shake but says yes. Hundreds watching. What I want you to take away, make sure she's ready for it. Rule of thumb, when you propose should be the surprise, not that you're proposing. Saw a couple in a jewelry store when my wife and I were looking. Guy asks to see a ring. Kneels. Will you marry me? She flips. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, yes, yes, yes. He says great, then hands the ring back to the employee and tries to leave the store. He proposed with a borrowed ring. Tries to explain to the girl he couldn't afford the ring but wanted to propose correctly. She slaps him so hard my face hurt. She put her whole body into the slap and starts screaming about how her mother was right, etc. etc. No clue if they ever got together, but it was hard to watch. I would much rather know that my boyfriend couldn't afford a ring at the time or propose without one than pull that crap. Jeez. Oh hey, I know one, not terrible I guess, but awkward. I was eating dinner at an Applebee's at one of those high tables near the bar. Sitting at the bar was a couple. After a few minutes, the guy pushes his chair back and gets down on one knee. He starts to propose. Just then a waiter walks around the corner, trips over the bridegroom-to-be's outstretched leg and drops a tray of food. To which he said, crap, did I just ruin what I think I ruined? In any case, the girl ended up saying yes. The guy proposed at an Applebee's. The server didn't ruin much. I didn't witness this, but a redneck friend of mine proposed to his girlfriend in a Kmart parking lot because he couldn't wait till Red Lobster. This possibly is the best, worst I have read. Great excuse for it though. I was on the ferry to the Statue of Liberty a few months back, and suddenly we see a plane writing something in the sky, extremely slowly, like, ridiculously slow. I know it must take a while to write something out in the sky, but it seriously took like 25 minutes for this dude to write Marry Me Sue in the sky. By the time he had written Sue's name, the Marry Me had faded from the sky. That's hilarious. He should have just got a plane to trail a banner. I was on vacation in Las Vegas about a month ago. Across from the Hoover Dam is the Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, a huge bridge that goes across the valley. Well, my family and I were just walking along the bridge, taking pictures and taking in the view. We passed by a couple and the guy had his camera set up on a tripod, and instead of taking pictures of the dam, he had it face to the bridge. Suddenly we saw the guy take a knee and pull out a ring right as we passed by. We kept walking because we didn't want to be intrusive. Fast forward to about 20 minutes later, we are at the parking lot getting ready to leave and soon see the couple getting into separate cars with frowns on their faces. TL. Dr. Guy has a video of his own rejected proposal. I used to work the jewelry counter at Target. Two kids, probably 13 or 14, decide that it's time to get officially engaged. They purchase a cheap cubic zirconia ring. 10k gold overlay, $9.99. The boy proudly pays in ones and a handful of change. He gets down on one knee, says he loves her forever and puts the ring on the girl. She giggles, "Dad is gonna kill me." Then they run giggling into the night. I like to imagine they lived happily ever after. I like to imagine they were eaten by wolves. I was at Taco Bell with a few friends of mine, including a guy and a girl that had been dating for a few weeks. A few of us got tacos, but the girl only got a Diet Coke. So her boyfriend asks her, "Do you want hot sauce?" She says, I just got a Diet Coke. What the heck would I want hot sauce for?" He says, "I dunno, but I just think it would be really good if you had some hot sauce." They argue about whether or not she needs hot sauce for a while, until finally she just says okay, whatever. He goes over and gets some, comes back with a packet, gets on one knee, hands her the package that says "Will you marry me" on it, and pulls out a cheap looking engagement ring out of his pocket. Keep in mind they've been dating about 3 weeks at this point, and we're in the middle of Taco Bell. She gets this look of absolute shock on her face, and then says yes. They got married a few months later. They got divorced a few months later, and that was the most humiliating trip to Taco Bell of my life. TL. DR. Guy proposes to girl in Taco Bell with a hot sauce package and she says yes. The last part made the story. Really, what were they expecting? I work at Universal Studios in Orlando a few months ago and I watched a Fear Factor live show. One of the stunts, a lady is in a chair with a plexiglass box around her head. Her arms are strapped down as well. Someone spins a wheel and whatever it lands on goes on her head. Either snakes, scorpions, spiders or cockroaches. This girl is the contestant in the chair. Her companion spins the wheel. It lands on scorpion, so they do the stunt. At the end her man gets the mic and says his spiel while the girl is still strapped in the chair. He didn't get a real answer till the poor girl was out of the chair. Just super awkward. Great way to start the marriage. I must be very optimistic. Despite what this thread is about, while reading your response I only thought, oh, and whatever it lands on she'll be pleasantly surprised when an engagement ring falls into the plexiglass box instead of scorpions, snakes etc. Then I got to the end. But I would run 13.15 miles, and I would run 13.15 more, just to be the man who'd run 26.3 miles, to fall down at your door. You are my favorite. I wasn't there for it, but my parents' proposal was pretty anticlimactic. They had been dating for 5-6 years already and it was basically like, well, I guess it's about that time. I did one. My birthday, she was taking me out to eat and I couldn't find anywhere to hide the ring. She asked if everything was okay and I said, might as well get us out of the way. I proposed to her in our garage. I proposed on a dinner cruise and told her I was gonna throw her overboard if she said no. The couple next to us interrupted to ask if she needed help. Good for them. I'd like to think I'd stop a murder too. Yes, the way my best friend's husband proposed. They had a long distance relationship most of their relationship. He told her that when he would be visiting for Christmas leave that he had a surprise for her. She badgered him to tell her then and there, over the phone, what it was because she hates surprises. He finally gave in and was like, I'm going to propose. She promptly called me right after to screech in my ear about how he was going to ask her to marry him. My wife despises surprises, no matter how safe or well intentioned. I managed to surprise her when I proposed, but it was in our house without anyone else around. Still sweet and thoughtful, just not public. I pretty much don't bother trying to surprise her with anything anymore because she hates it. I am throwing you a surprise party. This is the date. My ex-husband proposed to me in the shower after picking a fight about elbow macaroni. I went into the shower to calm down and he followed me, slipped the ring on my finger and asked. How he got the ring in the shower without me noticing was by hiding it under his fat roll. It was his mother's CZ engagement ring from her second marriage. Every day I wish I said number. Every part of that story depressed me. My high school sweetheart and I had been living together for several months when he caught the flu. It was the first time I'd ever seen him really sick and I was determined to take care of him, but after a few days was getting worse. I tried to convince him to go to the doctor, but since we didn't have health insurance he insisted he'd be fine and I gave in. I try to make him comfortable on the couch since it's closer to the bathroom and he can't keep anything down. Around midnight he's getting delirious. He's had a fever for days. Dehydrated from throwing up all week and he's spouting gibberish. He barfs all over the couch and can't stand up. I tell him I'm putting my foot down and he's going to the doctor first thing in the morning. He suddenly gets quiet and looks at me very seriously and says, "You're so good. You should marry me. You want to marry me," and then passes out. I was shocked but didn't take him seriously obviously and just focused on bringing him around so I could get him off the couch and into bed. When morning rolls around his fever has broken and though he's weak and pale, he's doing much better. He asks how he got into bed because he can't remember anything from the night before and I entertain him with the story of how I dragged him to bed after he proposed and passed out. I think the whole thing is funny but he doesn't laugh so I look up and he says, "Well, what was your answer? We just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary. TL. DR. Vomit can be romantic under the right conditions." That's pretty cute. My now ex-husband called me while he was at work and said if we get married, I get 3 paid days off that don't count towards my vacation. Want to go to Vegas in October? It lasted a whole 3 years. Can't blame the man for thinking for the future. Every Jumbotron proposal in the history of ever. I go to 15-20 baseball games a year, and there's probably a proposal in at least 10 of them. More often than not, since time is money on that screen, I'll see the camera cut in on the relevant couple, see the proposal for like 2 whole seconds, and then vanish. I've seen more than one couple totally miss the window. I told my now husband not to make a big deal out of his proposal but badgered him into giving me hints because I was afraid of this exact scenario. It's a good thing I did. He was planning on doing it at an NFL game here in town. Instead, he proposed in our living room. I saw the guy propose to his girlfriend in a subway at around 9 at night. It was so unbelievably awkward because it was just the 3 of us in the shop. She said no. The guy cried and I still had to order my sub while they sat there. I wasn't there for it, but saw the video. I work for a place that caters all sorts of events. We did this ridiculous rehearsal dinner for a wedding. I say ridiculous because I've never heard of a rehearsal dinner needing an auditorium and several other spaces for guests. The parents of the bride were loaded and just awful. Common, accepted practice is that after all the guests have eaten, staff get to have a little plate. The bride's father chewed us and our boss out for it even though he was just going to have us pitch the leftovers at the end of the night. Anyways, prior to the guests arriving, the family of the bride handed me a DVD to play over the projection system. This DVD contained the coupled engagement photos and music, but it also contained video of the proposal. It was the most awkward thing I've ever seen. The dude walks into the house as her father opens the door. The guy looks so nervous, but not nervous like he's going to propose. Nervous like he doesn't know what to do on camera. Do I stand here? Where's my mark? The camera pans over and his fiancée is standing at the top of a massive staircase. These people are obviously loaded, in probably her most elegant dress. It takes her almost 2 minutes to descend the staircase. I know, because I timed it since it was on a constant loop all night. The guy awkwardly shuffles over to her and gets down on one knee and then adjusts his position for the camera. The ring is placed on her hand and then they just sort of stand there. The video then starts looping again. It was the single least romantic thing I've ever seen. I have bought this man for you. I sure did. This happened 3 years ago. Some friends and I decided to road trip down to Orlando and go to the amusement parks like a couple of 21-year-old children. Well, we were in one of the Disney parks, Magic Kingdom perhaps, and I saw one of craziest rednecky things ever. So we're looking at a map figuring out the plan of action and all of a sudden we hear, "Boy, what the heck do you think you're doing?" Some guy, like 5 feet away, was on his knee with a ring out in front of a girl, and an older guy was next to him yelling. This is where it gets weird. The guy said, "That's your dang cousin, you freaking idiot. Get off your goddamn knees before I beat the pee out of you." This obviously got our attention. The guy doing the proposal, who I will call George Michael from now on, started crying and said, "But I love her and I want her to be my wife and you and no one else can stop this from happening. Mary, will you be my wife?" The girl, Mary I guess, looked at him and said, "Why are you doing this? Don't you ever talk to me again. I hate you for this," and she ran off. Then George Michael ran in the other direction. The older dude was pee off beyond belief and the rest of the family. I wanted to clap but I felt like I would have been killed. Dang, I just love hillbillies. Mine was pretty terrible. I was so nervous that when I got down on one knee I was shaking so bad she at first thought I was having a heart attack or something. It got better from there. We are getting married in January. I was totally hammered when I did it. I needed the liquid courage. Her reply was yes, but when you sober up you better still feel the same. My own proposal was kinda horrible. When watching TV I casually asked her if she had ever done it with a married man. When she said no I asked her if she wanted to and offered her the ring. Mine was particularly bad. My girlfriend of 5 years at that point was at work and I had the ring and it was burning a hole in my pocket. I was going to take her out to the beach for a picnic. I meet her at her mother's house and she has this horrible crappy day. She doesn't want to go out, just wants to get takeout and watch a movie. What movie does she want to rent? Talladega Nights, something she can laugh at. Halfway through the movie we are laying on her bed talking. No remote, so I crawl over and pause the movie. Crawl back. I'm kneeling next to the bed, and we're talking. "I love you, blah blah." Finally this dang ring is just burning, so I mention that I really want to spend the rest of my life with her. She has no clue, she said, so do I. I pull up the ring and ask, "Are you sure?" She instantly starts bawling and covers her face. 2 minutes later she nods through tears and we hug. 1 hour later, finish our Mexican food and movie, telling it doesn't sound so bad. We had been together for 6 years and been really close friends for 5 years before that, lived on the same street as kids, met when we were 12, so our relationship was grounded on our friendship. But still, whenever we tell people, we try to leave out the part where Talladega Nights was paused in the background. Married 4 years and strong, 11 years in a relationship. I actually think that's a really romantic way to do it. It's not big, but it was special. Almost like she said, I'd like to be with you forever, and you magically conjured a ring. I proposed to my husband in the worst way. Emo. Let me preface by saying that I had been married before and I really believed that marriage is overrated. I had already warned him many times that I would never get married again. So, we'd been in a long distance relationship for about 6 years, sometimes on off, but mostly on. At the time, we were kind of off but still together. One night he calls me, I'm sitting at a bar, not drunk yet, and tells me over the cell phone that he's being deployed to Afghanistan. I immediately burst into tears because now I realize how much I really do love him and I'm very scared. So, I propose to him. He accepts. He goes to Afghanistan. He comes back home. We continue on as normal. No wedding plans are made because I'm busy with my business. Not sure when I can leave the States to move to Canada, etc. So it's just on the back burner. I'm going to go to Canada for Christmas. First time for me to visit his family for Christmas last year, 2011, when, 2 weeks before I'll leave for Canada, he shows up at my house in Phoenix from Canada, and when I open the door, he gets down to his knee and proposes to me officially and then hands me the invitation to our wedding. He had planned the whole entire wedding and all I had to do was show up. So, he was there to take me shopping for a dress. Some women may not like this, but I loved it. I adored it and it was an awesome wedding. That was in December, but couldn't move to Canada to be with him until April, and then we had to wait until June to take a 2-month honeymoon to Hawaii that just ended last night. Love this man. TL. DRI. Female, screw up proposal. He, male, comes back 3 years later and does it even better than the right way. Pilot here. Guy asked me to fly him and his so over a field where 150 people had formed a heart and 2 rings. Huge show. I was really impressed. When she saw it, her response was, "Look at all those idiots. How ridiculous is that?" He did not ask his question that day. I proposed on the summit of a mountain that we climbed together. It was insurance against her saying number. She needed me in order to get back down. When I was waitressing, I saw the guy propose. The restaurant itself would be okay, I guess, but they weren't dressed up nicely as for a special occasion. It was only early evening, and their kid was with them massacring the table with crayons, etc. She didn't seem to say yes as they hastily paid the bill and both left very stony faced. Just left me thinking, dude, if you wanna propose over dinner, at least get a little dressed up and go in the evening and hire a babysitter. Yeah, any restaurant that provides crayons and papers the table for kids to draw on is not the place to propose to someone. I was once at a friend's gig who plays pretty crazy distorted rock with a shitload of synthesizers and stuff. It was really quite low-key thing with only about 20-30 people there, and this drunk guy gets up on stage halfway through my friend's solo and grabs him to whisper something in his ear. My friend looks super confused but kind of nods and continues playing. Then after the song says, "Hey, so this guy here wants to say something," and lets the guy jump on the mic, who then slurring every word asks his lady up on stage. She comes up, appearing nowhere near as drunk as he was, and as she's looking worried and confused, he gets down on one knee and grabs her hand, mutters somewhat of a proposal to her. She lets go of his hand. He stands up. She slaps him across the face, echoing through the tiny hall, and he stands bewildered as she storms off the stage. My friend then helped him off the stage and says to the crowd, "So, let's go," and continues a raging set. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.